Hey everyone, how you doing? Ron here with How Do I. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to connect any MacBook, whether you're running a laptop, a MacBook Air, an iMac, a MacBook Pro, and how to connect that with a new domain that you purchased with some kind of SiteGround hosting or GoDaddy hosting, whether it's HostGator, GoDaddy, SiteGround. I personally use SiteGround, so I'm going to show you everything that you need to know on how to set up your new website or your new domain using Microsoft 365 Outlook connecting on POP3 or IMAP. So let's get into the video. So the first thing that I like to do here, I'm in Microsoft Outlook, and as you can see, I've got some messages here. And the first thing you want to do is you want to come over to Outlook and just click on About Outlook, and you want to make sure that you've got the latest version. So as you can see, I'm running the license is Microsoft 365 subscription, and it belongs to me with the device, etc. Now you want to make sure that you're running the latest version so you can follow along with me. You could come over here to help and then just go to check for updates. Click on check for updates. And now it's just going to do a check for anything related to Microsoft Outlook. Click on here, check for updates. And all apps are up to date. Perfect. So the next thing we want to do is we want to come over to Outlook and we want to go to Preferences. So underneath Preferences here, you're going to see that we have a bunch of options here. We could look at General, Accounts, Notifications. The first thing we want to do is come over here to Accounts. Now this is going to show the accounts that I have set up here. Now to add an account, we're just going to click on the plus. And we're going to click on New Account. And we're just going to move that over to the bottom. Now, the first thing you're going to need when you're going to be setting up your domain or your new Microsoft Outlook account is you're going to need a website. And you're going to need hosting to host that email. And I've probably set up over 100 email accounts and domains and websites. I used to do a lot of SEO, so I'm very used to this. It's different from Microsoft Exchange. So I'll just give you an example. If you want to use something that is transparent on all devices or working on all devices or synced, then you probably want to go the Microsoft 365 route. But you could also do this as long as you configure all of your devices that you connect to using the same technique, which is POP3 or IMAP on all your devices. So the first thing you're going to need is obviously a domain name. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to go to Namecheap. So I do have a referral link for Namecheap down below. Come over here, log into your account. Right now it's asking me for a verification code, so I'm just going to check my email. And once you've logged in, the first thing you want to do is look for a domain name. So you come over here to domain name search. Okay, let's say you wanted something and abcnew.com, and you could click on search for your new website name that you want. And then you have different options. You could come over here and it'll tell you the prices. You add to cart and then you check out. But because I already have my domain names, I'm just going to use an existing domain name to connect my email. So I'm just going to go to my account. I'm going to go to my domain list over here. And underneath my domain list, you can see I've got a bunch of domains here. So I'm just going to use this account, which is called Making Software Simple. So Making Software Simple is actually going to be tied in with How Do I. We're going to have future courses, etc., on all of our business applications. So first thing we want to do is I want to create an email that says ron@makingsoftwaresimple.net. Okay, so I'm going to click on Manage. A couple of things that we have to look at here is the DNS. So it's the domain name service is what we need to change. Okay, it's a two-step process. Okay, so because we need, even though we have a domain, we need to have hosting or a website hosting plan so it stores our emails and it sends our emails back and forth to a server. And for that, we are going to use this site called SiteGround just for hosting new websites and email, because usually when you get a hosting plan, see, starting at $2.99 a month, that includes your website, your domain. So it's going to include makingsoftwaresimple.net, as well as I can create multiple emails like ron@makingsoftwaresimple.net or sales@makingsoftwaresimple.net, and we'll get into that in a few seconds. So you're going to come over here, and this is the main thing that you want to change, which is you want to change it from custom DNS. And now we want to put in our name servers for our web hosting. So let me log into SiteGround because I do have an account here. You could subscribe. I'm going to have a referral link. You could start now. If you're just beginning, most likely you can get away with a $2.99 a month plan, but it depends on, if it's just an information website, that should be fine. So come over here to log in. And once you've logged in, you want to come over here to websites. So as you can see, I've got a bunch of websites here. So I do this very often. I'm going to click on new website. And now I'm going to click on existing domain because I have an existing domain which I bought, which is makingsoftwaresimple.net. So I'm going to say I have an existing domain and enter your domain. So I'm going to put in makingsoftwaresimple.net and we're going to continue. And you want to make sure that the spelling is correct. So it's going to ask you if you want to migrate website or start a new website. So we're going to start a new website. Or you can skip this. Okay, so let's just install. We're gonna select start a new website because all I want to do is just grab an email address. So I don't really care if I want e-commerce applications like WooCommerce on it. I just want to just come over here and select WordPress. You don't have to do this, but sometimes I do this because I know that I'm going to be using WordPress in the future. So you can create an email, a login page here, okay? And I'm just going to use my email address. I'm going to generate a temporary password. And I'm just going to click on continue. And I'm going to write this down. So I copy that down. What I'm going to do, it says recommended. If you want it, you could add it. But I'm just going to click on finish. And now it's going to take about 2 minutes just to create that. It's going to install WordPress on your new website. Okay, so when you have SiteGround, you could create multiple websites if you want. Okay, but it just really depends on the bandwidth and how fast you want it. If you have 100 websites, I'm pretty sure some of them are going to be slow. So once this is set up, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the email section to get everything set up, and it shouldn't take that long. Perfect. So now it says point your domain. So please point your domain to the new host server. So your new DNS. So remember we talked about DNS over here? So your DNS, which is we set it to custom domain name service. So custom DNS. It's asking for the first one. Okay, so we come over here and the first one is ns1.siteground.net and the second one is ns2. So I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to paste that in. And I'm going to paste that in and just remove the 1 and put in a 2 and click on here. And there you go. So now my DNS settings have been saved, and usually it takes, it usually says 24 to 48 hours, but sometimes it takes 2 hours. So I've got ns1.siteground.net and ns2.siteground.net. Okay. So point your domain, and then you can immediately access your hosting control panel through SiteTools. Okay, so now we're going to go to SiteTools, click over here. And whether you're working with HostGator or GoDaddy, it's pretty much the same concept. You point your DNS from the domain name provider that you bought your domain, and you point it to your web hosting, which is SiteGround in my case, or in your case, it might be GoDaddy, to activate your email addresses. Okay, so this is where we come over here to email accounts. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go on email accounts. Now we've got so select the domain, makingsoftwaresimple.net, and I want to create one for Ron. I'm going to generate a password. Right now it's a weak password, but I'm just doing this for an example. So I'm going to click on create. Perfect. So now I got Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net is created. So I'm going to click on back. And now I'm going to create another one for sales at makingsoftwaresimple.net. Put in a password. Click on create. Now I could do this as many times as I want. So let's say you got multiple people in your business and you want to create one for Ron, you want to create one for sales, you want to create one for support, you want to create one for info, or, let's say you've got 10 employees, you go down the list and you keep creating all of these accounts. Make sure you save their password because you're going to take those settings and you're going to go to each individual machine in Microsoft Outlook and do this and follow the next step and instructions. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this, okay? So the incoming server for POP for IMAP. Okay, so we're going to select IMAP settings. So now let's go back to Outlook. Okay, we're going to go back out to Outlook. And we are going to go to Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net. Click on continue. Now, it says, sorry, we couldn't find a match. Please choose the provider for Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net. Sync with iCloud. We don't want to sync it for iCloud for now. And we're going to select IMAP, okay? So there. Now we've got the settings here. So the email address, the IMAP username, the IMAP password. So the password that you created, we're going to enter that in. All right, now next is the IMAP incoming server. So we're going to come over here. So the incoming server is here. US, okay, we're going to copy that, come back over here. We're going to paste that. The SMTP username, okay, so here you can connect using the SSL to connect recommended. So the SMTP username is going to be Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net. Okay, the SMT password is going to be the same. And the outgoing server is going to be here. Outgoing server, we're going to copy that. And also remember the port 465, and for IMAP 993. So you can see 465 and 993. And now we're going to click on add. So perfect. IMAP account has been added. Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net. And now if you wanted to add another account, you can, whether it's sales or info. And let's say you want to add a different account or sales account, sales 2, on another machine for one of your employees. You go to that machine and you follow these steps. So then you click on done. And now you can see at the bottom here, we've got Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net. Okay. And now what we can do is we can just come over here, and I've got 3 accounts here. So I'm going to come over to here, Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net, and I'm just going to send an email to my Yahoo account. So I'm going to click on new message. So it's the from at Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net. Send an email to myself, testing from software. And perfect. You can see right in the top, it says testing from softwaresimple.net. So it worked. So now we're just going to do a reply and say hello. So in about a minute, you'll see that the email will come through. But because I set up the DNS not too long ago, it might not come through right away. Usually it takes 24 to 48 hours, sometimes a little sooner. Now, let's say we want to troubleshoot this and the incoming server, the outgoing server wasn't working, and how do you troubleshoot that, and how do you know? You come back over here to account, you come over to preferences, and when it comes to incoming mail, this is where you troubleshoot this. So you come over to accounts, you select the account. So the incoming server, that means that any email server addressed, for example, your friend wants to send an email to Ron at makingsoftwaresimple.net. It's gonna bounce, and you're gonna check your Microsoft Outlook account. If your incoming username and password is wrong, you will not receive it. But let's say you're able to send emails, which you saw that I sent it to my Yahoo email account, and the outgoing server, the URL was typed in fine, and the outgoing port was fine, as well as the server username and password was fine. So we know that the outgoing is fine. It's just the incoming, we might have an issue, and maybe that's just a DNS issue. But like I said, it might take 24 to 48 hours, then it'll pop up in here. So that's how you troubleshoot IMAP or POP3. Is you want to make sure that the username and password is correct and the ports that you have are fine. If you need to override these ports, you could come over here and you can select, and then you can put in a different port number. Now, when you open a ticket with support, they might help you and say, okay, well, override the port and try these settings for IMAP. Okay, so now we want to set up our phone. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to come over to settings. And underneath settings, you're just going to scroll down over here to mail. Okay, right here. And we're going to go to Mail. And here you go. So underneath Mail, we're going to look for Accounts. So click on Accounts. And as you can see, I've got a lot of accounts here. So now you come over to the bottom and you click on Add Account. So now we're going to select, so you have a bunch of options. So we're going to click on Other. And we're going to click on Add Mail Account over here. And now you're just going to follow the same instructions. So you're going to put in your name, your email, the password, the same password for the incoming and the outgoing. So we're just going to do Ron. Description, making software simple. And we're going to click on Next. And here you go. So now you've got the same settings, which is your incoming mail server and your outgoing mail server. So follow those instructions, click Next, and you're ready to go. So remember, stay on IMAP instead of POP. IMAP is more secure. So that's how you set up your iOS phone. The settings are a little similar for Android, but for now I'm just doing this on an iOS iPhone. So that's it for the video. That's how to use Microsoft Outlook on your Mac using your own company domain with a new website and buying hosting from SiteGround and connecting it to your IMAP settings on your desktop as well as your iPhone iOS. So that's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and I will see you in the next one.